Shazam Fury of the Gods.
Sorry, what film?
Would you like to talk everyone through your kerfuffle?
So the podcast, you guys know, if you've watched other episodes, as films come out, Connor's always been like, I've got my tickets booked for tomorrow. As you're listening to this, I'm going to see it at this time on release. Hori will see it when he gets around to seeing it because he always leaves it to the last minute, which is normally fine. I'm well enough organized that I'm like, okay, I'll go see it on this day, like late night showing, whatever. I realized yesterday, like dinner time.
Like 6 o'clock, you messaged me.
Yeah, and only like an hour or so before that had it like clicked in my head. I was just like, because obviously I had loads going on this week. I'm going through stuff, and I'm like, oh shit, I haven't been to see Shazam. Damn. So then I'm having a panic of like, there was one showing. Like, my cinema already was fucking giving up hope on the film. There was one showing yesterday because I couldn't make any today. And so, yeah, I very much in a rush, last minute, booked a ticket and went in the next 20 minutes to go see Shazam. But I was just like completely forgot about this film, which I think thoroughly sums up how this film was anticipated.
So it's an interesting one. I don't think this film is any worse than Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania.
I would agree on
that. It's better in some places than it's worse in some places, but overall, I think it's about the same quality of film.
Yeah.
I think it's really hurt by a thorough lack of interest in DC at the minute.
I think it's been very hurt by everyone who cared about DC knows the DCU's restructuring. And as we said months ago, any film that comes out after that announcement doesn't mean fucking anything because everyone knows it means nothing going forward.
Yeah. But the highlights.
Yes.
I think the family vibes and the interactions between the family members were lovely. They were very heartwarming. They felt very real.
Yeah.
It was nice. It was just that. It was nice. You could tell Billy still didn't quite felt like he belonged, and that's why he was holding on to everyone so tight. We obviously very early on saw that Billy wasn't calling his adopted mother Mum yet, which obviously at the end we get the big, yeah, I'll do it, Mum, don't worry. And don't get me wrong, I have never been someone who really gets emotional at media. But there was a couple of bits there where I was like, oh, that's hitting them heartstrings a little bit. That's some good stuff.
The film did a really good job on hitting like the comedy points of Shazam, which people kind of expect a bit from the first film, and like, but it still managed to hit some pretty strong emotional points with, like you're saying, and yeah, there was a couple of points in the film where like it really hits your kind of heartstrings, which I think was great from that. Like, they did a good job with that. And yeah, I agree. The whole family vibes was great. It was just a bit. I don't know how to.
I think it was exactly what I was concerned / expected it to be last week. It was very similar to the first film, but it improved slightly on like the comedy and the family dynamics, but the villain wasn't really any more compelling.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't. It lacked on a compelling villain, and it felt very much like Origin Story Part 2, which used to be a pretty commonplace to like, oh, we've had the origin story, now we do a bit of like, this is the big character development so they find who they truly are. And it's like, it's been done and kind of expected. It just felt like, okay, it's pretty sure the villain's cool, like there's a couple of twists, and it's like it works, but it was it was clearly just a villain to get across this point of like Billy becoming like finding his value of who, like, it's like the part 2 of his origin. It's like, which is fine if this was gonna go anywhere.
Exactly.
But it's not.
So what I'll say is I think Helen Mirren was phenomenal. I think she did like a really good job. Yeah. Lucy Liu was good, but it felt like she was really hamming it up at times.
Yeah, I can see that.
It felt like she was a bit pantomimey at times. And I didn't really get that. Um, I don't. It's just, it kind of felt, in my opinion, like they could have done with it not being a world level threat.
Yeah, it felt like a big threat level villain that
But you have no
wouldn't.
idea.
We had no idea who they are, and it also felt like if it's that level, like why is Billy dealing with this? Like surely, especially because they've pretty early on in the film set the precedent of he's talking about all the other heroes in his child like therapy session. He's like, oh, there's a guy who can run quicker than me who also has a lightning bolt on his chest. There's all that like talking about the DCU heroes, and so you're very much from the get go. We're like, oh, okay, so they are fully committing to this film being in DCU. If it's a threat level of this big, like, why has none of them shown up? Um,
It's it was just a bit weird in places. I think the first two acts were just fine. Like they weren't bad, they weren't great. The
yeah,
third act really hurt the film for me.
yeah, it kind of it hit a weird pacing bit, and then it's like,
It felt like instead of just having a big fight between the hero and the villain, they needed this half an hour of just random shit in the city with 30 seconds a minute of fighting, followed by 2 or 3 minutes of Freddy chasing after Anna.
yeah, it kind of it felt like a weird way for them to set up it being just Billy left and having to fight them on his own so he can
Exactly
overcome
that.
this thing. And it's like the way they went around it just felt a bit long winded. Um,
I will say, although it was some of the worst and most obvious product placement I've ever seen, the unicorn with the Skittles was kind of funny.
yeah, the whole taste the rainbow was just
Yeah,
so in your
the
face.
the taste the rainbow motherfuckers, brilliant, cool. But then they showed them skewer one demon thing, and
Yeah,
then we literally got nothing else until right at the very end.
and we see they've rounded them all up in a
Yeah,
park.
and we had no idea how they've done that or why the
Here's my
monsters are
thing.
just standing there nicely.
I think that all got cut. Uh, and I think there probably was more skewered things, but it would have put the rating up or something.
Maybe, but you still could have seen the monsters go, "Oh shit, these are unicorns," which are, oh, they're
True.
all apparently scared of, and they start running away, and then they manage to shepherd them up a little bit. And
I
I know
think
I
it
was,
got cut, is my
yeah,
guess.
I think that created the pacing problem because it felt like just lots of 30-second clips, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I get you.
Um,
I don't know if you thought the same. So we knew there was, it kind of been revealed
in a
that
TV spot like 2 days before it came out.
Wonder Woman was going to be in it. Did you think the restaurant thing, when it was purposefully wasn't showing her face, that they were like, oh, this is all just bait. We haven't actually, like, I was watching that and I was just like, oh, they've baited us with the TV spot.
Yeah.
They couldn't afford the actual actress. They're just purposefully
No, I
only
can't.
showing.
I'll be honest. I get that the whole idea was, oh, he's not actually met, so we can't see her face. But it just shows how poorly thought out that was. That they could reference Wonder Woman earlier in the film, but they couldn't get her in to shoot the fucking scene.
Well, yeah, it just I don't, it was just very weird. Like it almost seemed like you couldn't get Gal there, so you've done a weird workaround. Um,
Um, and I mean, she was pointless. So here's the thing: I get in action films, you have the trope of, oh no, the hero's dead. Wait, not really. Walks out of the smoke.
yeah,
I get that trope. I don't like that trope, but I accept it and I expect it. Do not go to the extended effort of making us actually think he's dead by having him buried or whatever, to then have a lame cop out bullshit excuse of Wonder Woman turns up. Or anyone turns up and magically revives them. Don't want to fucking hear it.
So here was what I was
It's
thinking.
lazier than them clutching their side and limping through the rubble.
Here's what I was thinking. I was like, okay, he's died, and then they're doing the burial. I'm like, the wizards. Something's gonna happen. It's gonna be like Shazam. He's alive. Cool. What I wasn't expecting was, there's no power in the staff because there's no gods left. For them to go, hi, there's still a god left. Do 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 do. Boom, power again. But then it's like, cool, the staff relit, but there's like, at least give us some sort of like lightning bolt hits the fucking ground rather than just pop out comes an arm and he's alive. Like, what?
Yeah.
It was very like not even any indication that he's been brought back or saved. Like, yeah, it was a very. Do you know what it was? They obviously. This film was obviously written pre DCU announcements and all this. They were clearly wanting to set it up to bring it into the DCEU world. They did that from the get-go in the film with references. And their great way to do that, to really tie it in, is like, we'll just have Wonder Woman show up. And that's all it was this idea, like their way of like being like, easiest way to just say, yes, this is connected is just shove Wonder Woman in it.
Yeah.
The problem is, now that the DCU's been announced and the DCEU is dying, that kind of just kills the film.
Yeah, no one gives a fuck.
Because it's like, cool, Wonder Woman's there. Means fuck all anymore. Like, she ain't. Like, this film already didn't feel. Like, we knew this is where it's ended. But it's like,
I was looking for it to just be fun and make a bit of sense.
Like, you could have ended it. You could have, knowing that the DCU was coming out now, just fucking cut that bit out at the end. Just end it with him dying, and then you'd have Shazam 1 and Shazam 2 would be quite happy as just two films that live on their own. But no, you had to kind of like try and tie it into a dead franchise.
But also with the post-credits thing.
Yeah.
So they're obviously talking about the Justice Society, which we saw in Black Adam.
Yes.
And we'll get more into that whole shithousery in the Nerd News Network. But the two characters we saw were from Peacemaker.
Right.
Which is a James Gunn project.
Yeah.
Which we know is staying in the DCU. We know the Peacemaker team is in the DCU. So in the same film, they've referenced both the DCU and the DCEU.
So here's my...
is this Elseworlds or not?
So here's my thought. Originally, Peacemaker and that was obviously all going to get tied into the DCU. But then obviously, with James Gunn taking over and doing DCU, he obviously wants to keep his little project. He's gone, it's not really tied in yet. I can make that work. Obviously, this post-credit scene messes with that, but it's on its own. Peacekeeper could probably be pulled away and pushed into, like, they can explain, like, I don't know, it's a different universe. However they want to do it.
It felt like an unnecessary way to try and confuse things.
I think it was less to like tie it into Peacemaker. The post-credit scene very much, to me, felt like it was them trying to tie it to Black Adam because they were also going to have those two films tie into the DCU, and we had the Superman reveal on Black Adam. Like, it was very, you could tell, or you could see that their plan was to tie these two films, because they're so close to each other, is like tie them together and tie them into the DCU. The problem is, with the DCU being shelved, scrapped, those post-credit scenes for both of them have meant fuck all. And yeah, they're just... I get that it's all done and it was already all filmed and stuff, so it was going to come out. But it's like, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. They were trying to tie it into a thing. That thing doesn't exist anymore. So at the end of the day, the post-credit scenes mean fuck all. And they are what they are.
That begs the question, why even leave it in?
Yeah, but I think... do you know what? I think if it's me, the only reasoning I can think is like, those films will, like, they exist. And it's like, the DCEU as a collective exists. At least they can say, look, these films are tied into that world. all of these films are collective part of the DCU. If anyone wants to go back and watch that, like at least it
Mm,
confirms that they are part of that world. Whether it does anything, you could have cut them out or not, but like, I guess, yeah.
just weird, isn't it?
It's this is the problem that I said months ago when the DCU got like Aquaman, Shazam, Black Adam, all the Flash, like they're all going to mean nothing because we know they don't go anywhere. So unfortunately, they're just being put out because they've been made already and they need to make some money back.
Hmm.